Hey everybody, this is Cece and
Kirk right here.
all right, with the For Real Deal. Thank you for joining us on our podcast. And today we're going to talk about how to deal with your ex.
Yep, this is a big one right here as far as dealing with this because of the fact that in any relationship you have your ups, your downs, and your outs.
Yes.
And this is the biggest out that you have to deal with is your ex. And also not only on the fact of you leaving somebody, but also dealing with a relationship in which someone has an ex that's currently in their lives. And that's what we're going to be covering right now.
Definitely. So in what we're talking about today, hopefully you'll get some really good pointers from us and also learn how to let that person go. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. First of all, if you have an ex, then evidently something didn't work out in the relationship. And you have to look at why is the ex still in your life?
Yeah, because this is the whole thing about it. Normally, as I said before, people come and go in your lives. But the biggest clue to something's not right here is the fact that the ex is still kind of lingering around, still kind of involved in a relationship, that is still making calls, still coming by and visiting, still interacting with the person right there. You know, it's one thing to have a child with that person.
Yeah.
And then that's one aspect of it. But what we're really referring to is the fact that just constantly calling at weird times of night, always making visits at certain times, you know, what's really going on? And also, where in fact did they pick up this ex from?
Exactly. Is this an ex-coworker? Because that can create a real sticky situation. Say you were dating somebody on the job, which I don't recommend, but people do it anyway. You're dating a coworker, and then it just doesn't work out. And now you two have broken up, but you're still working at the same spot.
Yep, and that's the whole thing is that, again, that's a whole different sticky situation in itself, but it also brings in attention because of the fact that by being an ex-coworker, you know, that is something that's constantly on a daily basis. Now that person is interacting with them all the time. So every time they go to work, that's who they're looking at. And what is that interference in which you're getting from that? Because of the fact that now asking questions about the new relationship, going on and on about what's happening in the relationship. And if you're in a very sticky situation where you work in the same job.
Yeah.
That's when it really gets nasty. And that, honestly, on any advice on that one would be, you might need to drop that situation if you're going to be caught up in it because of the fact that you don't need that drama, mainly because you might not have a job.
Exactly, because just imagine, you've been dating this person and one person wanted to get married and one person didn't, and it didn't work out, and so, okay, you guys had a blow up that evening. So the next day, here you are, you're both in the same workplace, you're both working with each other, and you have other people around you. But now one of you is all in their feelings and say, here this person comes at you, and then you get into an argument and you're yelling and screaming at each other at the work site.
Yep.
That's not a good look.
Exactly. And then many jobs right there, they do have issues and policies in which you deal with this kind of matter. So it would fall within their privy right there to go ahead and terminate. And I do mean fire. If these situations come up. So usually when you're dealing with an ex that's a co-worker right there, you know, maybe make it clear, look, y'all can just be friends, but you got to start making sure that those ties are broken because that becomes a lot trickier in more ways than one and in ways you don't want to get involved with. And then another way in which you get sticky too is because you're dealing with ex-spouses.
Absolutely. And if it's an ex-spouse, and especially if there are children involved, it's very difficult. That you have to be careful, that you have to set boundaries that you don't cross because, you know, if you have that ex-spouse and y'all have children, then you're going to have to talk about them. But there's going to be a lot of other factors that you have to be careful you don't cross those lines. And say if you guys were married and there's no children, but that person is still around. Okay, you got to evaluate, well, one, why are they still around? Why am I still running into them? And why is this still happening from me? Because this is different than if you're just boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yep. And then on the flip side, when it deals with guys and then having your girl who's involved with her former husband. And now you're up here constantly, he's coming by the house and always dealing with different things. Anytime with any situation with life, you move on and you move forward.
Right.
If you're going to deal with a spouse right there, at least go ahead, have everything handled. Get your divorce in place, house, car, whatever personal effects. Get that all settled. Get that off the plate. Have that done before going into another relationship, because this is ways in which individuals usually try to get back into relationships.
Yeah.
And this is the same old story in which we've heard too many times right there, in which, we weren't really divorced, or we weren't really involved with that, or we just found out from this time apart that we should be back together. And it's just too much drama right there to go ahead and deal with, especially with that when you have so much in which is connected financially, connected emotionally, especially being married. So you want to make sure that in a situation like that, the things are settled way in advance, so that when you do go ahead and get involved with someone that's an ex-spouse, that it's just a mutual friendship and it's dead and gone. There is no 3 o'clock in the morning phone calls. There's no coming over on the weekend because, I want to cut the grass or do something extra around the house.
Oh yeah, no, you're not having those little chores being done. Like, I need you to come over and fix something in the house, and you guys live in 2 separate locations. That's why it's very important to know, when you're dealing in a relationship, that ex is definitely not in the picture.
Yep.
Because if they're just separated, they had like a really long-term relationship, but they're just separated, and now you're dealing with someone, then that puts you in a very dangerous situation.
Exactly.
Not just sticky, it can also be very dangerous because, like you said, financially, something could happen and you have no recourse there. You're totally cut out. So, you want to be careful as to how long that relationship lasted.
Yep. Because, this is the whole thing about it, because you're dealing with issues that go beyond just relationship. You're dealing with something that's a legal document that says that y'all were married. And because of that, there's always going to be issues that are going to be cropping up in which people won't try to resolve unless they're under the certain situation of knowing, look, relationship over with, we're done. Now we can go ahead and move on our own lives. If we want to be friends, as I say, we're adult and we're grown right there, and we can make those kind of decisions. But by having everything separated and moving forward and moving on, that's where you want to be at. But then talking about moving forward and on, then we deal with basic relationships with boyfriend and girlfriend kind of stuff. And that one right there, again, if you're having a relationship and that person's your ex, then, and we all know about the rebound thing.
Oh, yes.
And that's one big problem with it, is this. When you're looking at a relationship and the ex doesn't want to go nowhere or still up here being involved in it, no. As she said before, there's a reason why y'all are not involved.
That's true. There's a definite reason why the two of you are exes now. And that person looking for that back door to come back and, they always gonna be with me. They ain't never gonna let me go. Then you need to sit down and have a conversation with the person you're with and go, hold up. Are you really over this person?
Yep.
Are you truly finished with this person? Because if you're not, then you need to let me know and I need to move on. Because I don't need to be in a 3-ring triangle. Yep. Now, unless you're the type of person that believes in multiple partners, if everybody agrees, then that's fine.
Yeah, that's a whole different situation too.
True. But if that's not what you're looking for, then you need to state, nah, it's just one person. That's all I can deal with at a time. One person, I can't be dealing with all that other stuff. And then you have the headache of, here comes the ex. Here comes the ex. And then I'm sitting up here and you telling me I can't do what? I don't think so.
And see, this whole thing, it goes back to, petty boyfriend, girlfriend stuff, high school romance stuff, first love stuff, in which you don't need to go through. You're trying to have a serious relationship. You're trying to move forward in your life. You're trying to do something that's progressive right there with this person. Why do you need an anchor?
Yeah, exactly. Why do you need that security blanket, that back door? Oh, we've known each other from high school and we've just always been friends. He was my first love. Well, okay, that's all fine and good. And she might have been your first love, but I'm the love now. So that means that you need to set a boundary. You need to let them know, look, you need to respect this relationship and this is how you do it. And if you can't, your problem's not with the ex. The problem is with the person you're dealing with.
Exactly, because this is the whole thing. It's about moving forward, not backwards right there. And all that drama, in which was the reason why your relationship was over with,
Yeah,
that right there does not to be brought into a new relationship.
absolutely.
You also don't need that kind of communication and all that kind of interaction because that's not their business anymore.
True.
It's time to progress, move forward, move on. And that comes into the fact of dealing with time factors.
Yeah, and see, when you're dealing with a time factor, you know, if you're in a long-term relationship or versus did you just date a couple of times? So we're going to take you just dated a couple of times. Okay, you dated a couple of times and then you moved on to somebody else. So now you've moved on to somebody else, but the ex keeps coming around. So what you need to do So what you need to do is definitely set some definite boundaries. Okay, so in dealing with your ex in a short time factor, like I said before, there's a reason your ex was your ex. So if you found out in the 3 months that it wasn't working out, she was really crazy, obsessive, or he was too controlling and you cut it loose, okay, let it go.
Yep.
You know, it's a different sense as if it was a long-term relationship and then say 4 or 5 years down the road, something happened and y'all broke up. But again, your ex is still your ex, especially if you ain't got no kids.
Exactly. And the whole thing about the ex is that they're out of your life now. That's why they're referred to as an ex. On a short term, obviously something did not work.
Right.
And that means so many red flags as far as you going ahead and complicating the issue by getting involved with somebody else and then bringing the ex into that factor.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with a long term in which you've known somebody for years, as long as y'all are on just basically terms that y'all are friends.
No benefits.
Exactly. That's the whole thing in which if you're an ex and you're in the boyfriend-girlfriend zone and y'all have been known for years, but y'all are still just basic friends, then, you know, again, be kind of mindful, though, of your partner that you're with now.
Yes.
Because that does build tension in it. And I understand that because of a long term and because of the history and because of the things in which y'all have went through, nobody wants to go ahead and have that baggage constantly thrown at them.
Exactly, and being compared, well, she used to do this and she used to do that. Well, how come you're not with her, but now you're with me? So you don't want to do that constant comparison thing, you know, because that's unfair to the person that you're with presently. And let's say one of the reasons you're not with that ex anymore is because maybe they moved out of town. Maybe they got a job promotion and y'all figured, you know, okay, this ain't working and I'm going to move on and do better for me. Or maybe it was due to maybe they're in the military.
And these are factors in which you have to keep in mind when you're dealing with factors of distance and how the relationship ended abruptly with your ex. You have to kind of be realistic with yourself and with that person before you bring someone else into the relationship. Because, you know, this is something in which, because it was immediate cutoff, and because there was a delay within, say, a couple of months to a couple of years, that you still have a passion for that person. You know, absence makes the heart grow fonder right there. And you don't want to add that to the mix on the fact that you've been away from that person. They went out to sea, you know, been in the service, and now they're coming back into your life. And now, all of a sudden, those same feelings are starting to be rekindled. And now you got another person involved in it that is totally new, totally fresh to what's going on, and it's not fair to them.
Exactly. And when you have that situation, you do better just to stay by yourself instead of starting a new relationship. And then here you go, you have a real volatile situation where the ex is coming back and you got the person here and now you got to decide, what do I do? Or, I want to see if I'm still in love with them, but I really like the person I'm with. You just sound confused.
Exactly. And that's just too much jerking people around, in which you bring out all kinds of animosity, hatred, and a lot of tension that you don't need. That's the one thing about it, is that this is where you be for real with yourself and with the person that you're involved with and your ex. And make sure that just because there's a distance between, how far y'all are apart, be true to where your feelings lie before you get other people mixed up into it right there.
And that is so true. And also there's another factor. Say you and your ex, for whatever reason, y'all broke up and you came home one day and they just weren't there.
Yep.
And so now you going, what's going on? And you calling them, oh, well, I really love so-and-so, so I'm going to be with them. Huh? I know you're hurt. I know it's sudden. You got no notice. They just moved halfway across the country with no notice. So that means there was something this person wasn't telling you. Yep. There was something this person wasn't communicating with you. But you deserve the best anybody has to offer. If somebody just up and ghost on you like that, then you need to just let them stay a ghost.
Definitely, because obviously something was wrong with the chemistry in which y'all had. Maybe an interest in which they wanted to have kids and you didn't. Maybe something in the conversations in which y'all had obviously didn't set right.
Right.
And because of that, when they leave and they go off somewhere right there, then obviously they're making it clear that they don't want to be with you. And if that person's the ex right there, which you're here, let them go.
Exactly.
That's
Definitely
it.
Don't chase them. Don't run after them. Don't go, oh, I need to have them in my life. That's the one. Obviously, they're not the one if they don't feel the same in return. So, see, once somebody leaves, that's why it's so very important that you set boundaries with them. As we spoke about before, once that person becomes your ex, you ain't going back to have sex with them just because there ain't nobody else in the picture.
Exactly. And that's the problem that too many people have, is they sit back there and they don't realize that without setting proper boundaries, and then ended up crossing those boundaries right there, in which you have a new relationship.
Yeah.
Only making things more complicated. You're adding more tension to it. And who needs the drama? For real.
Exactly. Life is about being happy, drama-free, and having a lot of peace. And so let's say you do have kids with your ex, and they say you're the new wife, and the ex-wife is constantly calling, well, I need this, and I need that, and I need the other. And then you as a man is constantly giving it to her. You're making your present wife very insecure, because you're first and foremost, as far as the woman goes, it's supposed to be her. Not saying you don't love your children, not saying you're not trying to take care of them, but
that's the
definitely.
Because that's the one thing about it, is this. You have to kind of understand that you have to look at it on both sides of the situation.
Yeah.
And if you got children with one person, and you have a responsibility to your children, not to the ex.
Exactly.
And that's where your focus should be in, especially if you have a new relationship.
Yes.
Because all you're doing is creating a tug of war of who loves them more. And most women do understand that you're going to love your children.
Exactly.
They know that. They already have kind of signed into it. They're not signing into the fact that you're involved with the ex-wife. And a lot of times when you have things in which you're constantly running over there to take care of one thing or another and doing stuff, you have to keep in mind, especially the fellas, keep in mind, in her mind, she's not thinking about you handling the kids.
Exactly.
She thinks of you handling the wife right there, the ex-wife. And that's where you get a lot of tension from, because you're being sloppy on how you're handling things. If you're going to be friends with that person, you need to let them know, look, you need someone to change the light bulb, get Frank down the street. or here's a number to a place that goes ahead and does it, and I'll cover the bill. I know that sounds crazy, but believe me, it kills a lot of the tension that you have back and forth when you're dealing with this kind of stuff.
Exactly, because see, the thing is this. When you're dealing with your ex and she's constantly calling you and you're asking her about, well, Did you pay your bills this month? Did you do that? Who's your new boyfriend? And you're using the guys, I don't want them around my kids. In all actuality, that's none of your business, because as long as they're treating her right, and long as they're treating your kids right, you should be fine with it.
Exactly, because believe me, they vetoed any decision in your new relationship, period, once they became your ex. So there is no asking questions. There is no getting into your business. There's no going back and forth.
Right.
And in fact, on the same note, keep your mouth shut.
Exactly.
Because the last thing they want to hear is reports back and forth about this person, about how my ex did this, how this person did that. And you're going at it over and over and over again. And that's the most important thing, is that you got to keep in mind that you have to keep the relationship moving forward. And that's the important part.
Yes, it is very important that you keep those boundaries, you set them, and you make sure you keep them in place, because when you start running back with your problems and start running back with your complaints, you're drawing that person back into your life, into your relationship, and that's not good for you. You're blurring the lines. So you need to go find somebody new to go vent to. You need to go find somebody new to go discuss your problems with. That's not your ex.
And that's the biggest thing, is that when you're constantly going back, and even with money, that's one thing in which everybody always anchors into it, is this: well, I need this and I need that. Well, you're not related. You're not involved. You're no longer in a situation in which that person needs you financially. So let them go. And again, if it's about the children, then it's about the children.
Then you can provide for the children, and you can turn around if they say, oh, they need some new shoes. Go pick them up and go buy them some new shoes. You solve the problem.
And that's it. We're not going ahead and taking mommy to the grocery store to go ahead because she feels like she wants something, or taking out to do some shopping. And as I said before, with the whole thing of being an ex, now you're in a new relationship, and the last thing she wants to go ahead and hear about you complain about being broke, because she can understand you getting the children's shoes.
Right.
But now all of a sudden she needed a new roof, that she needed some new groceries, that she needed some new this or new that,
lawnmower,
or whatever that comes into play, that all of a sudden she needed money for, that doesn't specifically involve your child.
Exactly. It had nothing to do with your kid. She just wanted to call you up. Oh, well, I just need some money because. Hold up. That's the reason you have an agreement. That's the reason that y'all are exes to begin with. That's the reason you paying child support. Because number one, she as an adult has a responsibility to those children, just like you as an adult, as the father, have a responsibilities for those children. And even though it took both of y'all to make them and y'all are split up, it still takes both of y'all to shoulder those responsibilities.
Yep, and that means that they have to go ahead and handle their fair share.
That's right.
Because y'all are exes, because y'all are no longer involved, there is no connection anymore. That's the one thing about it. As far as the relationship goes, that's done. And because you built those boundaries right there, you can now have well-established new relationships. And that's the biggest factor to it, because it's not fair to the other person to be caught up in your drama that you made for yourself and are continuing to go ahead and do it. Because, again, there is no running back on this one right here.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely so, because the last thing your new woman wants to hear is about your baby mama drama, and that you got to go do this, or she calling you and she's going off on you. And then let's flip the script. Your baby mama calling your new girlfriend, telling her lies. Your baby mama calling your new girlfriend, running you down like a dog.
Yep, and that's the whole thing about it, because we're not dealing with any bashing on this one right here.
Oh, yeah, you definitely have to set the boundaries up on that. Number one, whoever your ex is, whether you have kids or not, you have to set up the boundaries that, look, we're not talking about each other like that. We're grown. We can respect each other. We can speak to each other calmly. But just because you don't like the way my woman look, because I ain't with you no more, doesn't give you the right to turn around and talk about her.
And the whole thing about it too is that, and I'm speaking to y'all ladies right there because y'all love social media so much.
So do the guys.
Yeah, we do, but believe me, is they going ahead and keeping up and stalking your ex
Oh, Lord,
through
have
the
mercy.
media right there is not a good call. I understand you want to go ahead and be nosy or be in a business, but it's over.
Exactly.
And you don't want to go ahead and bring out any more attention, any more drama by constantly going ahead and getting involved with social media, dealing with any kind of office talk right there, or dealing with stuff in public because y'all socialize within the same circles. No one else needs to be involved in your business. No one needs to be involved in that relationship. And it's over.
Exactly. Say you went to a family gathering and that person is remarried, but you got to come in and you got to show yourself and you got to say something. That's not the place to do it. That doesn't make you look good. Whether it's the guy talking negatively about the ex or the girl talking negatively about the ex. We're talking about being adults now. And you've got to handle that with class. You've got to be able to be
just take the high road too.
Yeah.
You know, they show more dignity. That's the biggest thing about it is this. We are grown adults. And you want to go ahead and show that you're above all of this drama and above all this tension. And you want to go ahead and walk away properly. And on the same sense, too, for those who are caught up in a relationship in which a person has an ex, you want to show that you have an understanding, too, of where the values are and where the boundaries are set. So if they're a friend and they treat it within a respectful level, then, okay, again, you don't need midnight phone calls or any kind of like amazing pop-up visits. And stuff like
no unexplained pictures that you didn't ask for. Those don't need to be going on because, see, the thing is, you set the boundaries on your relationship and you have to let your ex know, okay, you're crossing a boundary. Don't do this.
Yep, because, I mean, when you go ahead, it's hi and goodbye.
That's right. And then just walk on away. And you walk in with the person you came in with. It's not I just need to talk to them for just a moment. I'll be right back. You include the person that you're in the relationship with in on the conversation so there's nothing they can be surprised with. And there's nothing that the other person can come and go, oh, yeah, he wanted to come through tonight, just to let you know I still got him.
See, and that's where you get all kinds of tension, all kinds of issues, all kinds of problems. I mean, for some people, they look at it as a way of going ahead, boasting rights.
Yeah.
That they got two people up here fighting for them. And it might be a little bit of a pat on their back. But then you have to think, these are two grown people.
Yeah.
And you don't want them to go ahead and feel bad about it by being played or pitched against each other.
And see, that's where being a grown adult comes in, because a grown woman knows I ain't fighting over no man. Either he's going to do right, he's going to treat me right, or I'm leaving him alone.
And for a grown man out there, you don't need no extra drama that's unnecessary.
True.
If you got your ex up here trying to play, you're new, and you need to take a stand. Where you're going to stand is where you're going to have to go ahead and stand behind. So if you're standing behind your new, that's where your loyalties need to be. And if you're standing behind your ex, then you need to cut your ties and make it clear. And that's what it's about, by being mature enough to handle by making real decisions. And that's what being a real man is about.
Absolutely, and that's what being a real woman is about too. So just remember, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us your comments and subscribe to our channel here on the For Real Deal. And we'll see you next time.
Alrighty, peace and love.